Welcome back to Troll Time. I'm your host, Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King. And this is a show where we talk sports, movies, and anything thought provoking. This episode will be covering college football and NFL football. We'll be recapping week 5 for college football, and it'll be week 4 for the NFL. Um, we'll highlight some games, and then obviously we'll talk about our favorite teams because they matter to us. And when I say us, I mean none other than my trusty brother and sidekick, Antonio Williams. What's going on, brother? I see you rocking the Raiders.
Hey, somebody out there want to send me a Lamar Jackson jersey so I could really get out these streets and cheat? Cause man, man, if anybody, you know what, man, let's just get into it. We'll talk about the Raiders when we talk about it.
Okay, week 5 for college football. Games we're going to highlight, of course, my trusty Buckeyes against Iowa. Buckeyes knocked them off. Did what they're supposed to do, 35-7. Will Howard, 21 for 25, 209 yards passing, 4 TDs. Jeremiah Smith caught another electrifying one-hand grab for a touchdown. And Emeka Ibuka had 9 catches for 71 yards and 3 touchdowns. We got it done on the ground, over 203 yards rushing. Quinshawn Judkins, 13 carries, 78 yards, and Travion Henderson, 11 carries and 61 yards. Not a whole lot to talk about here. We'll get more into the upcoming game that they have against Oregon this week. That's going to be the true test for the Buckeyes. Moving on to Alabama and Vanderbilt. Hey, Willie, I know you caught it. The world probably caught it maybe at the end or somewhere in the middle, but man, it's what college football is all about. You had the big dogs, Alabama, coming into Vanderbilt. Um, it was a great game. Vanderbilt actually dominated the game from almost beginning to the end. They had a hiccup. Alabama came back. Looked like they were going to take over the game, but Vanderbilt said no way.
Wait,
Vanderbilt walked away with a 40-35 victory. Just only going to point out Diego Pavia, 16 for 20, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns. They almost ran for 200 yards against Alabama, which is impressive. Let alone almost getting 300 yards in the air. Eli Stowers, six catches, 113 yards. I'm not going to talk about Alabama too much. They got some work to do. I think they slept on Vanderbilt, and they paid the cost. Tough place to play. Your thoughts, Willie, about Vanderbilt upsetting Alabama?
it was bound to happen. Everybody acts like that this is something new. The thing about it, you mentioned it, like what Vanderbilt was able to do was run the ball. And that when you can run the ball, you got that time of possession on your side. That keeps Alabama's great offense off the field. And we saw when, other than the fumble, when Alabama had the opportunity to really, really go and do their thing, they were able to score, move up and down the field. But credit Vanderbilt for doing this. You knew it was going to happen at some point. People were acting like this is unheard of. But the big thing that I'd like to point out about it is you got Alabama coming off of that emotional win against Georgia. Shows how hard it is for you to get back up the next week after you have such an emotional win that you ride that high and then you get that letdown. And for me, I think that was one of the things that Alabama did. But with 12 teams getting over, I don't know why people are acting like the sky is falling. It's great for me because more teams are playing harder because more teams feel like they have a chance to be in the dance in the end. So I like it.
No, no doubt. I think that's Vanderbilt's first time knocking off a number one rated team. Uh, I was impressed. I mean, because the quarterback, you can tell at the post game interview what kind of dog he got in him, and I mean, in his story that they talked about a little bit, man, he kind of begged to play for his hometown team. and then he didn't get didn't get offered or didn't get a scholarship to go there, and ended up at Vanderbilt, and then being able to enjoy a moment like that, even if that's the only highlight of the season for Vanderbilt, is something that people is not going to forget. I think they carried the goalposts
Yeah.
for miles.
Right.
And the storming of the field never get old to me in college football, as long as people not getting hurt or anything
Right.
like that. But hats off to Vanderbilt for getting that win. Next up on the ballot, we got Texas A&M and Missouri, which two ranked teams came in. Uh, I was not expecting uh, Missouri to get whooped like that. Texas A&M defeated Missouri 41-10. Uh, Connor Wegman, he 18 for 22, 276-yard passing, but Le'Veon Moss, I mean, he had a field day. 12 carries, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns. He kind of set the tone for them early. They couldn't stop him anytime he touched the ball, and gave him fits all day long. Missouri was out of sync. They only ran for 68 yards. Um, never really was a ball game. Missouri didn't score until the second half. They were scoreless in the first half, 24-10 at halftime. I mean, 24-0 at halftime, and I don't know. It's just they just totally out of sync. The 12th man did his job. Your thoughts, Willie, on Texas A&M and Missouri?
Man, it's funny to me because I was born in St. Louis, grew up in LA, but like born in St. Louis, so I um, root for the Tigers. And a couple things that was at work here with Mizzou as they are trying to really ascend the ladder and be considered one of these upper echelon programs around the country. Of course, they play your Buckeyes, and that's what they were launching off of. They played your Buckeyes in the bowl game last year and won here in Dallas. But the thing about them when you watch them was I don't know if they quite have enough talent yet as Eli Drinkwitz continues to build this program to overcome some of the miscues that they had. It's almost like it felt like when you're at Texas A&M at Kyle Field and dealing with that 12 man, they had to play a perfect game because I don't know if they have enough as it relates to depth to really overcome some of these mistakes. One of them was it was a referee's mistake where there was a pass interference on a fourth down, and Mizzou was marching in Texas A&M territory, and there was a pass interference that wasn't called. Texas A&M gets the ball, turnover on downs, goes down and score. But in that sequence, there was that pass interference call. Then Mizzou had a penalty. Then they also got a long touchdown pass to Luther Burden called back because I believe they had an illegal person downfield or holding or something. Nonetheless, those two things really, really set the tone for this game, and Mizzou was out of whack after those two big calls. So, I wanted to see them do well because I root for them. But again, if they're really going to make that ascension as one of the top programs in the country, these are the moments that you got to seize.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, it was. I'm not a big fan of watching blowouts. I watched it in the beginning, and then once it got out of hand, I'm flicking around, checking on the other games. Of course, one intriguing game that I always look for besides the Buckeyes is what the Wolverines are doing up north, and they played Washington. Came in ranked 10th, and it was pretty much a back and forth game in the beginning. First half, 14-10, Washington. They didn't score the third quarter. Michigan scored, took the lead, but Washington came out in the fourth quarter and held. They stopped. Michigan could not score, and they scored. They reeled off 13 points to end up winning the game, 27-17. Tough loss by Michigan. I mean, I kind of didn't really know what to expect from Washington. With the changes and everything that they've made. This was, of course, was a rematch of last year's national title game. Definitely, different players, of course, but same teams. And Will Rogers, 21 for 31, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns with 1 interception. Jonah Coleman got it done on the ground for them, 18 carries, 80 yards, 1 touchdown. Um, I don't know. I kind of thought at a point Michigan was going to, take over the game, but as of late, when they had a hard time moving the rock. Alex Orji started the game. Then Tuttle came in. Once you get the flip flopping quarterbacks, it's a tough situation because quarterbacking is beyond skill. To me, is about rhythm, and it's hard for a quarterback to get into a rhythm, let alone in the Michigan scheme where they run the ball the majority of the time. So I felt like they put themselves in a tough spot, and ultimately paid for it. Your thoughts, Michigan, Washington.
It feels like they're setting out. It's interesting because it feels like I hope same thing. I feel like what's going on with this jersey I have on with the Raiders, where you have a new coach, you have a lot of turnover, and it almost sometimes feels like it's a setup because there are these expectations at Michigan, and no team unless you're really like an Alabama, and even them, the Alabamas and the teams that are the Georgias of the world, even them can't sustain the level of turnover at the key positions that Michigan has had to endure. Of course, J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. You lose Blake Corum at running back. All sorts of defections to the NFL and graduation on the offensive and defensive lines, which are the most important places on the field. And nonetheless, we still put these expectations on Michigan as if they're this elite program right now, similar to the one that we saw go on to win a national championship. And with all of that turnover, especially at those key positions, they're just not the same team. So it's interesting to me because as you said, you watch both of these teams be in the same boat, lose a lot, and it'll be interesting to see these epic sort of Big Ten matchups as it relates to especially the teams. I pay attention a lot to the teams that when the travel is, especially for the teams that are coming from the West, coming to the East and trying to win because of the time difference and all those things. But I expect more from Michigan. I would have thought that they would have, really had a quarterback waiting in the wings. Alex Orji is supposed to be that guy. Hopefully for them, he is that guy because with the defections that they had, they need someone to close that talent gap. And Alex is going to have to make plays for them if they really want to be one of those teams that can say, you know what, we capped this year off and we got off to something that we can build for the following years for the new coach.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, I'm gonna be an up north hater.
Right.
But I still need them to be competitive on both sides, so that game means something. Because I said
No
with
question.
the conference realignment, there are teams that came in that can take over the Big Ten, and we can forget about the Ohio State and Michigan rivalry. I don't care what anybody says. If Oregon, Washington, like these teams come in and start taking over the Big Ten, people forget about it. I mean, of course, the homegrown people like myself, and then of course people up north, you still gonna get into it. But if we're not dominating the conference, it is gonna decrease the value of the rivalry. So I still want them to take their a certain level of beatings, but then also win and be competitive. So that means something at the end of the year.
No question.
To cap the night off, man, this was a thriller. And I'll admit, I watched it, and then once Miami was getting embarrassed, it's Miami in California. Once Miami started getting embarrassed, I started playing the game, and then of course I got screens up, so I'm not just playing the game. I got other stuff going on the other screens. So then I started seeing some buzz about, oh man, Miami coming back. So then I tuned in, and boy, did I catch a treat, man. Cam Ward. I hope that he continues to be remembered for his play and not the the little insert. They got to be more mindful when they do these post game interviews.
They
Like,
do.
I
Facts.
mean, you kind of course, people are gonna say, "Oh man, be professional, be media trained." But these is kids, players. I don't even want to just say kids, just athletes that's gonna have a certain level of emotion after a game like that. But we'll get into that after we cover the game. Uh, Miami, California. California jumped out on Miami. They led by as many as 25 points. The Canes came storming back, outscored California 21-3 in the fourth to seal the deal for a 39-38 victory over California. I mean, heartbreaking for California to be up that big and end up dropping it. But Cam Ward, 35 for 53, 437 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. They got it done by a multiple amount of players, but it was of course on that you get to see a game of this magnitude, and it's always going to be one side that's super excited because their team came back and won, and then the other half you kind of disappointed that the team couldn't hold up and get the upset. But hats off to Miami for getting it done. The receiver for Miami, I don't want to mess his name up, Xavier Restrepo. He had 7 catches, 163 yards.
Yeah, he got off.
Isaiah Horton had 9 catches, 83 yards, 1 touchdown. I wanted to say it was Elijah Aurora that ended up catching the game-winning touchdown that sealed the game. But, man, this it caught me by surprise. I got a best friend of mine, one of my good childhood friends from Cali. Always been a Canes fan. He's been a Cane and Cowboys fan. George Jones, I'm giving you a shout out. We played ball together in middle school, then went to the same high school. I mean, when I say fanatic, he been an extreme Canes fan and Dallas fan since we were kids. And he was the one who I caught on Facebook had posted about the Canes coming back because he was upset in the first half, of course. And then when they started getting blew out. But yeah, he's just hey man, the Canes looking good, man. I mean, like I tell people, I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day. So
No question.
yeah, 6-0, 2-0 in the conference. What you got to say about Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes, Willie?
Man, I can tell you again, going back to that position that we keep talking about, that my team that I'm wearing this jersey again is struggling with, which is part of the reason why I'm out in these streets dating. Out in these streets, let me say it like that. You know, it's funny, man, when you have a great quarterback, the crazy part about it is he gives you hope. And when you have hope at that position, you feel like no lead is insurmountable. And you don't want to keep playing that way because Cam Ward has had to bring them back a couple of times this year where they've had some games where it could have gone another way. But nonetheless, they've come out unscathed. But again, he gives them hope. The other thing, too, that of course winning is a deodorant. But the other thing, man, wherever this guy goes, winning follows. So the other thing is his teammates actually respect him. His teammates follow him. And as you know, man, we see this in the NFL, we see this in college football. With the amount of emotion that's out there now, because everybody's emotions are justified because you can publish it and get a bunch of likes, which justifies your emotions to you. Things run really, really high. We see more and more outbursts than we've ever seen before when things aren't going a certain person's way. But clearly, this team rocks with him. This team follows him because, again, the aforementioned interview at the end shows that how these guys respond to him. The little banter back and forth with him, giving credit to other guys when Cam Ward is playing well. So, again, that amount of respect, the way that the group seems to be like a special group, that could propel you very, very far as you try to get yourself in this college playoff and win this thing. So, and the other thing, I'll say this too. I'm a fan of, like I said, in college football. Of course, I like Missouri, but I really like USC. Man, the college football is fun when that doesn't mean that the UCFs and the other brands in college football doesn't mean that they don't deserve respect when they're good. But man, it is so much fun when these traditional sort of USC's, Miami's, Michigan's, Texas, Alabama, when they're relevant, it brings shine to when Rutgers has only lost one game in the Big Ten. And coming into this game, Cal had only lost once. So those programs need the Miamis and the USCs and the Notre Dames and the Ohio States to shine. So it's good, man. It's fun when the Miamis of the world are relevant.
Gotcha. And now heading into week 7 for the college football, some games that we're going to be on the lookout of. See how Alabama bounces back against South Carolina. That's Saturday, 12 o'clock on ABC. Big game, and I'm going to be intrigued to watch is Texas goes on the road to Oklahoma. They get Quentin Ewers back. That's 3:30 on Saturday, also on ABC.
Red River right down here in Dallas.
No doubt. Ohio State, Oregon.
Yes,
Definitely
sir.
is going to be on my watch list. I'll be locked in at 7:30 to see
So
if.
tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about that game. We can't just go and breeze over that game. Those are your guys, man.
Well, I mean, me personally, like we've talked about before, when you talk about teams playing cupcakes, because most of the time any teams that's, below tier or not ranked or anything like that, people tend to call them cupcakes. I'm sure people thought Vanderbilt was going to be a cupcake game for Alabama, but I always take what teams do in the brightest moments, and this is what it's going to be for Ohio State. I think Will Howard is going to have to be able to throw the ball.
No question.
Because I know I can see Oregon loading up the box to stop Henderson and Judkins. So I think the ability to pass the ball is going to be key for us on offense. And then on defense, we don't want to let Gabriel, dictate the game
Right.
because he can sling the rock too. So I just look at those being the keys: containing Gabriel, being able to throw the ball. Of course, you got to always be able to stop the run. The game is won in the trenches between the defensive lineman and offensive lineman. I either see this one or two ways, bro. I either see us winning a close one, or I see us getting our ass kicked. Like simple as that. Like I don't see us going into Oregon just
That's a
dominant,
hard.
like
That's a
dominant.
hard. That's a hard place to play. But go ahead.
Yeah, like I don't see that. Like so, I see us, 7 to 10 point win, or it can get ugly. I think we have to come out and establish dominance from the beginning. We can't because this is the thing, and I said this even in the cupcake games, we have been slow starting every game. Only first half has been a struggle. Then the second half, boom, we hit a switch and wake up. So I think it's a game we got to come out and be assertive from the beginning. Will Howard has to be effective. He also showed that he can run the rock too when he has to, and he's going to have to be able to do that. And then contain Gabriel. Make Oregon one dimensional. I think, of course, just like any other team, you don't want to give up a lot of explosive plays. And I think that's going to be some keys to the game. The last game we're talking about in the upcoming this week is Prime and the Boys is back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of glad of scheduling, man, because all the games I want to see, they're not stacked. Like literally back to back to back. You got Kansas State going on the road to Folsom and Colorado. Both teams 4-1. Colorado's 2-0 in the Big 12. Kansas State is 1-1. They're ranked 18th. Colorado has beaten Kansas State before, but other obviously different rosters and everything like that now. But it was a hyped up game early in the season last year. This is kind of later into the season, but I think this is a big game for Colorado, a big game. I think every game for them is a big game because A lot of people saying that they're not going to get to a bowl game or anything like that. I think with that program, getting to a bowl game is just is the beginning of something.
That's a huge win. That's a huge win for what this program was.
Yeah, we don't know what's in the future for Colorado, especially with them losing Shador and Hunter. I mean, he's got to be out of there. No way he comes back.
Right,
So
right.
there's going to be a new look Colorado in the future. But I think for the now, um, I never guess anything about Colorado. I always like to see the games and see how they go. I'm a little bit more confident in them this year than I was last year because they have shown some bright spots here and there. It still not hasn't been consistent, but it's been way better than last year. Last
Mhm.
year's team would have lost to Central Florida. The way they
Right.
played, um, you know, you wouldn't have went into Central Florida saying that they was going to shut down the run of Central Florida, especially with them leading the country at that time in rushing. So they have shown me something. Hopefully this week off they had Shador gets rested up because he's been has some little knickknacks and different things of that nature, and I'm excited to see what Colorado does. Of course, we always taking the Buffs. Like
Of course.
we're never
Of course.
betting, we're never going against Colorado, but
Right.
I definitely want to see them pull this out. What you think about it?
It's the battle of the quarterbacks, man. Avery Johnson, Kansas State, has a really good quarterback. And man, the parallels in college football are so crazy. Avery Johnson is the reason why Will Howard is your quarterback at Ohio State because that's where he was, and he wasn't going to beat him out. So Will wasn't going to beat out Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson was going to get the job. Will Howard goes into the portal, and now he's at Ohio State. So yeah, man, the storylines are crazy, but again, I think this is a quarterback situation again with Avery Johnson and Shador Sanders. And really, it's about what team Colorado has to control the run. If they can stop the run from Kansas State and force Avery Johnson into, and I know we're basketball guys, but this is Avery Johnson, the football player. No relation to Avery Johnson, the point guard. No relation to him. But I'll say this, man. Dude's dynamic as a dual threat quarterback. He is a legit dual threat quarterback. So let's see if we can make him heat him up a little bit. Also, try and make him beat you from the pocket. That's the other thing, instead of him running around and freelancing and things of that nature. Because he will tuck it and run it, where Shador is looking and he will run it, but he's looking to really pass it first, second, and then run it. So I think if Colorado can keep Shador upright, which means that Colorado has to run the ball, keep Shador upright, and then running the ball will also protect Colorado's defense, and it'll keep Avery Johnson off the field. I think having a balanced attack, which is what we've seen as the Bucs have continued to build that momentum, it's been a balanced attack. They've been running the ball as well. And even if you can't run it traditionally, sometimes use that pass as a run with that screen passes, and all those different things, just a little going across the middle and quick outs and things of that nature. So for me, I'm very much paying attention to that. I want Shador to stay upright. We got to have the Bucs win this game. This would be a huge, huge win for the Bucs as they continue to make sure that people know that this is a real program. And man, like we said, a bowl game of any sort is a huge win for where this program was. Don't let us be coming in here talking about the playoff. We got a little ways. But man, don't let us come in here and they are making a run for that. I'm gonna act a fool then.
Yeah, they've had a tough schedule the last 2 years. This is a toughie this year.
Right. No question.
So I can't wait to see how that games go. To round off the college football segment of this show, we got the top 25. We got Texas at 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Penn State 4, Georgia 5, Miami 6, Alabama 7th, Tennessee 8th, Ole Miss 9, Clemson 10, Iowa State 11, Notre Dame 12, LSU 13, BYU 14, Texas A&M 15, Utah 16, Boise State 17, Indiana 18, Oklahoma 19, Kansas State 20, Missouri 21, Pittsburgh 22, Illinois 23, Michigan 24, and SMU rounds it off at 25. They were one of the two teams that wasn't currently ranked. Um, the other team was Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 5-0, SMU 5-1, and that tops out this week's top 25. Heading on over to the NFL, we mainly focus on Thursday night football, Sunday night football, and Monday night football, and then of course, our favorite teams and whatever teams lie within this. But Thursday night football, you had Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Um, Kirk Cousins, man, I mean,
You
500.
like that?
Yeah, everybody like that. 509 yards, man, is ridiculous. Um, Tampa Bay, it was a good game, back and forth. I didn't expect overtime. But Kirk Cousins, I just want to keep the spotlight on him for a second. 42 for 58, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And Drake London was, of course, a huge recipient of that. 12 catches,
Fight
154 yards, and a touchdown. And then you had Darnell Mooney, 9 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. This a dominant performance from Kirk Cousins. Bijan Robinson only ran for 61 yards. So, hats off to Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they're now 3-2, 2-2 at home. Tampa Bay falls to 3-2. Your thoughts on the game, Willie?
The big one when they went 7 for 88. That's a big one. 7 for 88 and 8 targets total. That's what they got from Kyle Pitts. That was huge because, again, it opens things up for everybody else. Darnell Mooney can be more of a threat. Obviously, you got Drake London. Fight on doing his thing. But, again, Kyle Pitts getting involved. Other thing I want to pay attention to as well with Kirk Cousins. People say, yeah, man, if you just let him sit in the pocket all day, he will pick you apart. That's true. The Buccaneers got 4 sacks. So it wasn't like they weren't able to generate some sort of pressure on Kirk Cousins. He got sacked 4 times. So they were able to generate some pressure, but Kirk Cousins still stared down the barrel and delivered those pinpoint passes and was able to pick the Bucs apart. So, hey, shout out to Atlanta on this win. That's big time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Keep it moving right along. We had the Ravens and the Bengals, man. Willie been high on them Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Ravens they needed this win. They came in 2-2. Let down some early letdowns in some games ahead of this one. This was a thriller. They ended up winning in overtime. It was sparked by a long run from Derrick Henry that got him in position to win the game. But Lamar Jackson made some key plays during that stretch to get the game into overtime. And 348 yards passing, not bad for a running quarterback, huh? 4 touchdowns, no picks, 26 for 42. The Bengals held Derrick Henry to under 100 yards, but was not enough. He carried the ball 15 times for 92 yards. Zay Flowers was number 1 target per usual for Lamar Jackson. 7 catches, 111 yards. Was targeted 12 times. Then pretty much he just spread it out from Kolar to Bateman to Andrews to Wallace to Isaiah Likely, who had 2 touchdowns in that game and on 3 catches. Just a hats off performance to the Baltimore Ravens. I'm always root for Lamar Jackson. So that's another player. I wouldn't say team. I mean, I don't root for Baltimore, but I do like Lamar Jackson. The Bengals, drop a game that they probably should have won.
Should have won.
And just your thoughts on the game, Willie.
Lamar, man. I mean, it's watching this dude play quarterback is just, again, you always feel like you have hope because the one thing that, even though people focus so much on the Ravens running the ball, and rightfully so, you know what running the ball says? Running the ball says that you can't play from behind. Guess what they did against the Bengals and Joe Burrow? Ran them down, coming from behind, playing from behind, Lamar doing Lamar things. So not only can this team get out in front of you and buffalo you with the run game, they just showed that when you got 8 back there, no lead is insurmountable because, again, the Bengals were up 10 in the fourth quarter. You should win those games. You know who knows that better than anybody? The Ravens, because they gave up a 10-point lead in the fourth against this team, the team that I'm kind of, should I stay, should I go? I'm in my Maya season right now, OG. So, but anyway, man, watching Lamar do his thing and watching them believing in him and watching him. People forget, man, when you watch Lamar make plays, these are professionals that he's making plays against out there. And there was one that people have been tweeting about where he made a play and it was an incomplete pass, but he had to get outside the pocket because here's the other thing. As it relates to pass protection and all those things, the Ravens offensive line hasn't quite figured it out yet. So they're not blocking well. They had 3 new starters. They're trying to incorporate new people. So they're not playing well up to this point. But man, there was a play where Lamar, and it ended up being an incomplete pass. But Lamar literally did a head fake, did a twirl, threw the ball, avoided the sack, man. Dude's on another level, man. And I just hope to see them continue to be consistent because, like you said, that's a dude that I'm always going to root for.
Yeah. Moving on to another quarterback that's catching the league by storm, at least some of us anyway. Jayden Daniels. The Commanders are now 4-1 after a 34-13 win over the Cleveland Browns. Not going to focus too much on this game, but I do want to highlight Jayden Daniels, rookie, 14 for 25, 238 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Also carried the ball for 11 times and 82 yards. He's just been doing whatever it takes for them to get the job done. The Commanders are 4-1. That says enough. Even now heading on over to another rookie quarterback that now has the Bears 3-2. Caleb Williams. He had a good game. 304 yards on 29 attempts, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, carried the ball 5 times for 34 yards. Just highlighting 2 of these rookie quarterbacks that I liked in college, and then I now like in the pros. You want to say something quick about Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels?
Man, the parallels. Number one, Jayden Daniels, get you a quarterback from the West if you want to win. Young man from the West. And it's so crazy. Caleb Williams is actually quarterback for my Trojans in the West, but it's from the DMV area. So those quarterbacks will forever be tied. The other thing I'll say, man, you want to talk about some prime time watching this coming weekend. You want to talk about sitting on your hands, because if I don't sit on my hands, I'm going to bite my nails because I don't know who to root for. Lamar and Jayden Daniels are playing this weekend. So that DMV matchup between Baltimore and Washington and the Commanders is going to be lit. So, man, I'm going to be so of course, I'm going to watch the game, but I'm going to be torn watching that one.
Got you. Now, you got the Vikings remain undefeated at 5-0. They just winning by committee. Not stellar numbers or anything that's jumping out at you, but it's another team that's just doing whatever it takes to get the job done. They got the win over the Jets 23-17.
Right on, Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, and we'll get to this later because we're gonna talk about at the conclusion of the recaps. We'll talk about the firing of Robert Salah. Like the Jets, they just a little out of sorts right now. I don't even know if they can get back. I don't know what they, we know what the expectation is, but I don't know what it's going to take for them to get there. I think this is the ultimate prize that you get when you still keep a faith in a fading Hall of Famer. But we'll get into that. My Texans, I adopted the Texans because of C.J. Stroud, a former Buckeye.
From the West.
I want to thank Buffalo for giving us this win because it could have went either way. Buffalo didn't even give themselves a chance, and if you didn't watch the game, it was the end of the fourth quarter. Under a minute to go, Buffalo has the ball. They're backed up in their own 1 or 2 yard line. They came out and threw the ball 3 straight times. None of them were complete, and they gave the ball back to the Texans. A few short drive, and then boom, we kick a game-winning field goal. I mean, but it was puzzling. As much as I am a fan of the team and Stroud, of course, it's still puzzling when you see stuff like that in pro sports. That's from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint. It's like, and I say from the player because, a lot of these quarterbacks call their own plays or whatever. But, I mean, nobody wanted to take a chance of just running the ball, letting the time run out or get yourself the overtime or whatever. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. And a few of those balls should have been picked off. And it could have been over a lot earlier than what it was. But I'm not going to take anything away from my Texans, but I just wanted to troll that moment for a second because it was just funny to watch. C.J. Stroud, 28 for 38, 331 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Hit Nico Collins for a nice 67-yard touchdown pass. Nico Collins did end up leaving the game with a tweak, kind of tweaked his hamstring. So I'm hoping he's good to go coming into this week. But
he's the best receiver in the league up until this point, man.
Yeah, I mean Stephon Diggs, he had 6 catches, 82 yards. But
revenge.
Now, I will say this, one of the fan favorites for Buffalo, Keon Coleman, he had a 49-yard touchdown reception in that game. Keon Coleman from Florida State, rookie wide receiver. He's been known mostly from the NFL community, from his funny sound bites and everything like that, but a real good player. Happy for him because he's playing with a good quarterback. A lot of rookie receivers at that level don't always get to play with a good quarterback. But Bills fall to 3-2. Texans improved to 4-1. And this leads us into, I'm going to give you a moment to talk about your Raiders in Denver.
Man,
for
right.
a hot second.
Why?
The Broncos defeat the Raiders 34-18. I got to because you got on the jersey. Them two was trying to figure out what they was going to do at quarterback. Both quarterbacks combined threw for 215 yards, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown. Bo Nix got the job done for Denver. 19 for 27, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm only bringing this game to life because of A. Willie, and if he didn't have on the jersey, I probably would have skipped by it. But I'm gonna give you a chance to speak on your beloved Raiders, A. Willie.
Man, if you ever want to yell at your head coach, bring the Raiders in and play. You can yell at your head coach and still win. That's exactly what we saw Bo Nix do when Sean Payton tried to buffalo him on the sideline, and I'm happy for him, because it really made me start thinking about Russ. It's like, man, I love Russ as the ultimate professional, but man, I wish he would have bowled up on Sean Payton. Be like, man, who you talking to? I'm a grown man out here. So, and especially you juxtapose that, you look at Aaron Rodgers and how you have to handle all quarterbacks with kid gloves because of the way the position is. I mean, You got Tom Brady when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo and he started feeling the heat. He went upstairs to Robert Kraft and said, "Hey man, y'all got to get this dude out of here." So the last dude that you can disrespect like that and undress publicly is the quarterback, man. So shout out to Bo Nix for not taking that stuff from Sean Payton. Hey, again, I'm all for tough coaching, but man, like I'm not for the disrespect. Now back to my Raiders, man. This is why I said it feels like the Michigan job. Let's bring a wrestling reference in here. When this dude who's not the greatest human, Vince McMahon, and we had the Montreal screw job when Shawn Michaels screwed Bret Hart out of the title in Montreal. I feel like this is what's going on with another guy from the West. Shout out Antonio Pierce, man. Anybody that has an ounce of football knowledge in their pinky, OG, knew that the quarterback situation was going to be like this for the Raiders. Meaning, like you said earlier, when you playing two, that means you have none. We don't have a quarterback. We ain't had a quarterback. So with that being said, I was hoping that we could position ourselves in the draft to get the young man that's from the West, that's in the DMV right now, Jaden Daniels. We didn't have enough draft capital, or we didn't try hard enough to get up. But one or two things could be true. Again, it takes two to tango. Teams play games when they know you want to move up. They ask you for crazy prices that you know that you can't agree to get to where you want to get who you want to get. So I don't want to put it all on them, but man, you had to know that this was going on. Man, we could have went and got Malik Willis, somebody, but man, to watch this stuff and to watch us trot out the quarterback play that we have, I just feel like they're setting AP up, man. I really do, because he's going into a boxing match with his power hand. If you are traditional, your right hand tied behind your back, man, and you just got your jab because you ain't got a quarterback. So, man, I'm tired of seeing this. Cowboy fans are tired of being good. 12-5 is not good enough for them. Dog, I'm tired of being bad. Can we just be good? Good gracious.
Hey, well, sending some blessings your way, all the way to Texas, for your Raiders.
I'm gonna be sleeping with the Ravens if they don't.
Hey man, you taking too long, man. But no, to round out the NFL, the Sunday night football game, Steelers Cowboys. Monday night, you had Kansas City and New Orleans. Thought the Steelers was going to get out of there,
me too,
with a win over the Cowboys, man. But Dak Prescott hooked up with Talbot with 20 seconds to go to take the lead. Of course, another Buckeye on the roster for Pittsburgh at quarterback, Justin Fields.
I gotta let him loose.
So I always root for the Buckeyes, not the team, but the players, except for the Texans. But Dak Prescott, man, 29 for 42, 352 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and they walk out there with a win, man. They're now 3-2. The Steelers fall to 3-2. It was a funny game. It was they had a long rain delay before the game actually got started. It was a slow first half, 6-3 at halftime, Dallas, and then it picked up in the second half. Both teams combined to score 28 points. Dallas 14-7 in the fourth, but like I said, I felt like Pittsburgh had somewhat control of the game, was going to end up sealing it off, but Dak Prescott put on a good drive to close it out, man. Not the biggest of the biggest Cowboy or Steelers fan. That in Dayton, Ohio, between outside of the Browns and the Bengals, of course, the Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers fans reign supreme. And I still would probably get an edge to the Cowboys, of course, but it's a huge population of Cowboy and Steelers fans in Dayton, Ohio, and so a lot of Cowboy fans was happy. A lot of Pittsburgh fans was pissed, but they got Pittsburgh kind of got relieved because the Bengals lost, so that kind of helped soothe the pain for them a little bit. But quick thoughts on Sunday night football game between the Cowboys and the Steelers.
Man, if the Steelers want to really see what Justin Fields is about, they got to let him go. They got to unleash him a little bit and really try. You know, part of the thing is let's see what you got in him. So you got to let him go. The other thing that the Steelers got to do, and is really interesting to me because they should have won this game. And you start look, especially in the game where the Cowboys had 3 turnovers, they should have won this game. But George Pickens, as talented as George Pickens is, when your coach comes out after the game and says you were intentionally on a pitch count, that says a lot. That says that there are other things going on. So your most talented player, your most talented receiver for sure, your number one option, and your WR number one is on a pitch count because of some things that we don't know what's going on. Certainly, it's not about health, but when they say you're intentionally on a pitch count, you are intentionally limited. That means that there are some other things behind the scene as it relates to professionalism or whatever the case may be, that there needs to be more development in. And so when you are a young quarterback like Justin Fields, you've been in multiple systems dealing with multiple coordinators, and every throw you feel like you are fighting for your job on every throw because every throw is going to be scrutinized because people are still questioning should they start Russ when he's able to come back healthy. You can barely run the ball, and your number one receiver is intentionally limited by the coaching staff. Another situation where you're going into a boxing match, let's say southpaw this time, which means your left hand is your power hand, your right hand is your jab. You are going into a boxing match using your right hand as your jab, and you can't throw your power hand, which is your left, because you are being limited by the things that are around you. And that's the stuff that you don't want to see for Justin Fields, especially as he continues to make these leaps and show us these flashes that he could be a quality starting quarterback in the NFL, man.
No doubt, no doubt. And to cap it off, Monday Night Football, we had the Chiefs and the Saints. The Chiefs remain undefeated, 5-0, 3-0 at home, while the Saints fall to 2-3. I thought this was going to be more a competitive game than it actually was. It was one of those type things that it seemed like no matter what happened, Kansas City was not in threat to lose. Like the Saints posed no threat for them to lose the game. Patrick Mahomes, man, it doesn't matter if it's ugly, pretty, greatness. He just found a way to get it done. He threw for 331 yards, no touchdowns, just and 1 interception, 28 of 39 passing. Kareem Hunt was the highlight, one of the highlights of the game. He returned to their roster after them losing Pachenko right now, as he's on the injured reserve. Kareem Hunt came in 27 carries, 102 yards, rushing and a touchdown. I think he kind of set the tone early for them. And then Xavier Worthy, has the NFL buzzing for more reasons than one. Kind of from the person that helped create him, his mom. But he is dynamic. He had a rushing TD in that game on a nicely called play for him. But as a threat on offense, now the thing about him is it's not a true stat. I don't believe. I don't know. Maybe it is, but the amount of pass interference calls that he draws is going to be lethal for Kansas City. Like he doesn't even have to catch the ball, and he's putting them in great positions to score because nobody can really cover him one-on-one. And they're doing a great job of getting him out in space, getting him in one-on-ones, and even if he don't catch it, like I said, he's drawing pass interference calls and giving them great position to either get field goals or touchdowns. And in this game, they kicked a lot of field goals, but they scored when necessary. They only had 2 rushing touchdowns and no touchdown passes or receptions. So that tells you they were getting in position to at least get 3. So I felt like the way the Saints started and opened up the season, and like I said, they would be more competitive than what they've been. But um, I, I really, I don't know. It's Kansas City right now. They on a run right now. That if you don't come out and jump on them, and it's I hate to say this because I want to put Mahomes in its own category, but when you have somebody who dominated the game as much as Brady and the Pats did, and then even when he went to Tampa Bay, it's always going to be blanketed. Anytime you talk about a quarterback playing really well or a team playing really well, which is the Chiefs currently dominating the NFL, they're on a run right now that if you don't jump out and show that you want to beat them, they'll find a way. They'll scrap, claw, sneak in the back door to get the dub, and that's what it looked like on Monday. It didn't look pretty by no means, but they end up walking away with the win. Your thoughts?
Man, if you give Patrick Mahomes 139 yards rushing, you're probably gonna lose the game. And so, and that's what they were able to get. Like you said, you're a guy from your state, Kareem Hunt, coming back and having dividends for the Chiefs, getting over 100 yards rushing. But yeah, they got 139 total rushing yards. And if Patrick Mahomes gets that, man, you're going to have a hard time beating them. But on the other side, shout out to the defense because I saw this a lot with Derek Carr being a Raiders quarterback. Derek Carr is all about play action. If you can't heat him up, he's going to pick you apart. What the Saints were able to do the first couple of weeks of the season was run the ball down people's throats. So what does that do? Set up Derek Carr for the play action. You can't stack the. Then once you do that, trying to address the run, stacking the box, they get you on the play action. They get those deep threats. Olave and Shaheed, the other receiver down the field. That's the way they set it up. But if you take away that running game and you say to Derek Carr beat us and you heat him up, Derek Carr becomes a different quarterback. On the other side, I got to say this as well. The Chiefs have been doing a really good job of getting Travis Kelce involved. But guess who else they got involved? Oh, reliable number 9, Juju Smith-Schuster. Fight on. Had 150 yards receiving. So, yeah, man, this was, again, one of those games where you're trying to win championships. It's not always going to be pretty. You're going to get everybody's best shot. And then Mahomes does what Mahomes does. AFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl, he was winning those games with key runs. Did the same thing yesterday, extended drives with timely runs, running, getting out of bounds, man. Like anybody that wants to get paid at the quarterback position, and I'm all for getting paid at the quarterback position. You bring your agent in here, you talking about resetting the market, you need to look in Kansas City. If you ain't doing that, ain't no resetting the market over here.
Right. And as you mentioned, Juju Smith-Schuster had 7 catches, 130 yards. Kelsey, 9 catches, 70 yards. That pretty much led Kansas City. Before we get out of here, just talking about looking forward to the following week in the NFL. Any games that jump out at you besides the Thursday night game. Thursday night game, we got 49ers, Seahawks. Sunday night game, Bengals and Giants. So I'll probably be, I don't know about that one. And then Monday night football.
Hold up. You were all the way out in the Giants, man. You all the way in Houston. I mean, all the way in Houston.
Oh, yeah, I'm all the way. Yeah, the Giants is just a distant.
Yeah, you done moved out the house, signed the divorce papers, all that.
Oh, yeah, it's over.
Okay.
And then Monday night, you got the Bills and the Jets, and no other games outside of the Commanders and the Ravens. And then we get to talk about Jalen Hurts next week as they play the Browns. Texas Patriots. I don't see us. We shouldn't have too much of a problem, although it is, on the road. But I don't know. No other games really pop out at me. You got Cowboys and Lions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll see how Pittsburgh bounce back against your Raiders.
Oh man. See, now I would be torn because I want Justin to do well.
Yeah, but
We should
other
have really got him.
yeah, but other than that, that's pretty much it. Now, earlier today, Robert Salah, the head coach,
Hold on. I do want to say I got one game that I think is compelling. I want to say real quick.
go ahead.
Cardinals and Packers. Because of Jordan Love starting to get back into the saddle again. You know, two great, really good young quarterbacks. Last week, what Kyler Murray did last week, and the Cardinals getting the win, big time, big time. That was beyond the numbers. You look at his completion percentage, maybe it left a little bit to be desired, but they won that game because of him, man. So watching those two young quarterbacks do their thing, I'm actually compelled to see that because both of those teams are trying to take steps in the right direction.
I can dig that. And what I was trying to say earlier is that earlier today, head coach former head coach for the New York Jets, Robert Saleh, was let go. Um, he was only 20-36 in his stint with the Jets. That's the worst record among any Jets head coach. Minimum 40 games. I think Jeff Ulbrich will take over, defensive coordinator. He'll take over as interim head coach. It's a lot of things coming out about that. You never know what to believe unless you're inside those rooms.
Yes,
The
sir.
Jets are currently 2-3. That's second right now, I think, in their division. Um, it's always tough when you see coaches get let go, and especially
Right.
in this particular situation where you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. He's been a controversial figure at quarterback. Along, of course, everybody knows he's a Hall of Famer and all this and all that. I get it, but late in his career, he is fading, and I don't think that they're getting everything out of him that they bargained for, along with everything else. I think it's more external things going on than it is actually on the field play. And tough hit players and coaches in the professional ranks. You know that when your team is not performing or players are not even playing at the level that they're capable of playing of, you become a casualty, and that's the way I see it. Um, I saw something earlier today when they was talking about the Jets potentially trying to bring in Devontae Adams, and I forget who said it, but he basically said with all the weapons that Aaron Rodgers has around him now, and he hasn't been able to figure anything out. What makes you think bringing in Devontae Adams is going to fix things? Like, which I think is a valid point. I mean, it's not like Aaron Rodgers is left with the empty. He's not. It's not empty over there. They got weapons. Like they got
Absolutely.
running backs. They got receivers. They got everything. So it's something else uh, needs to happen. You kind of put yourself. They kind of put themselves in that situation when they decided to bring in Aaron Rodgers and him not. And the key is him not performing at a Hall of Fame level. And he's an older player at that. I'll stop it right there. It's tough scene. See what happens with Coach Salah, but your thoughts on the firing of Robert Salah for New York Giants?
It's funny, like you say, man. This is a results based industry. The other thing about it too is it was something about. Of course, they're going to say they were on good terms and those things, but it was something about their dynamic was off. I mean, we saw the awkward moment where, excuse me, I think the Jets tried to do maybe Aaron Rodgers threw a touchdown pass or something like that. Robert Sala tried to give him a hug, and Aaron pushed him off, like, relax. Like, so something was amiss there in terms of that relationship between the quarterback and the head coach. And you have to be so talented to overcome that type of dynamic when you have some dysfunction going on that I don't know, to your point, if Aaron Rodgers is playing at that level. Again, people that don't know me, I also played a little baseball. I worked in scouting in baseball. One of the teams, I played my summer baseball in St. Louis because I would go back to St. Louis for the summers. I grew up a Cardinal fan because of that. I grew up watching the Whitey Herzog teams, the Cardinals, the great Cardinal teams of the 80s. I watched them play. Whitey Herzog said, the hardest thing to do is manage aging superstars. And I think that's one of the things that we have as it relates to Aaron Rodgers, where obviously he's a four-time MVP, probably one of the top 5 or 10 quarterbacks that have ever played this game, but he's not the same guy that he was 5 or 8 years ago. And so with that being said, you have to manage him with a different set of expectations, even though this team was saying all along, all we need is a quarterback. All we need is a quarterback. So it's a very, very dangerous situation. I'm really interested to see what happens here. Like you said, even with that, if they win, they're in first place in the AFC East, which is crazy, even though people feel like the sky is falling.
Well put, A. Willie, well put. And that'll do it for Troll Show, college football and NFL show. My last words. I wish that it was. There's a lot of things to take in consideration, of course, when people lose their job and things of that nature.
Man, yeah.
I think that that scene with the Jets makes it tougher because Aaron Rodgers is not playing at a high level. And like you said, he's an aging superstar. And where is as one of my OGs used to tell me, who polices the police? Because at what point in time, like, how long do you ride this out with Aaron Rodgers? Like, I mean, that's the key thing. I mean, all the past accolades, if I don't care what sport it is or anything, nobody cares about that shit in the present.
Facts. Like, you got to be better than the problems that you produce. Facts.
So, it'll be interesting to see what happens for the Jets. This may spark up the locker room, may inspire people to start playing better. I mean, of course, when a head coach get fired, I mean, it wakes up a lot of players because they too could be next when you start bringing in new coaches and new coordinators and different things like that. But
that's your ass, Mr. Postman.
Yeah, but a tough scene. But as always, when you tune into the Troll Show or you check me out on Facebook, just always remember, I'm here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch you on the next episode.